It's the president versus the former spy chief as the battle over Gitmo heats up. Welcome, everyone. I'm Stuart Varney in for Neil Cavuto, and this is Your World. Just as the White House is threatening to veto a bill that would limit Gitmo transfers, the president's former intelligence chief is speaking out, telling a House hearing today that places like Gitmo are needed to get intel from the bad guys in a timely manner.
To be able to do tactical interrogation,
I got all
professionally,
that my question.
But you can't, if we bring them into the United States and they get read their habeas corpus rights, that stops the process of being able to get the kind of information that you can get through very professionally done interrogations. I'm telling you, I've seen it.
I got to tell you, I've heard that argument 1,000 times.
Okay, I have been involved in thousands of interrogation operations to be able to get to that point.
All right, well, does the general have it right? To former Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown, he has been to Gitmo. The general is saying long-term, in-depth interrogation is what Gitmo does. Why do we close it?
Well, I don't believe you do. I think there is a purpose. Let's just say we catch the #1 terrorist or terrorists in the world. Where do you put them? What do you do with them? How do you interrogate them pursuant to our applicable laws? Right now, if you get rid of Gitmo, they have to come here. I agree with the general 100%. They'll be given rights, quite frankly, they're not entitled to and they haven't earned.
Well, why is the president so adamant that you close it and close it now?
Well, I think you know why. Because he's kowtowing to his base. He's basically telling that ultra-liberal base fulfilling a campaign promise. And I know that, and you're aware of it as well. Senator Ayotte filed a bill. It came out of committee, obviously on a partisan basis. And what it says is, hey, let's take a time out for a minute. Let's find a way to slow things down. Because as we know, when these people are put back into the battle, and by the way, the remaining, most of them are from Yemen. They're not going back to Yemen. So where are they going to go? Just take a time out and have the president come forth with a plan. That's what they've asked for years, and he does not have a plan.
But the president's taking enormous political risk. If you free some of these guys from Gitmo and they go out there, and it's proven that at least just one of them kills an American, that puts the president in a terrible position.
Well, the president right now is obviously in the last year and 3/4 so left in his term. He really doesn't care. He's trying to fulfill a legacy. His legacy is probably to fulfill a campaign promise to shut Gitmo, to satisfy his ultra-left base.
Do you really think he doesn't care?
I think
that
if he
free
cared,
terrorist would kill an American. He doesn't care?
No, I want to step back from that. Of course he cares about America. He cares that he doesn't want people killed from terrorists in America. But he does not have a plan when it comes to Gitmo, not only closing Gitmo, but dealing with terrorists who are captured and need to be interrogated to find out what's next, using all means of legal interrogation pursuant to our applicable laws to find out what's next. He does not have a plan, and that's what Senator Ayotte, I spoke to Senator Ayotte today, and I asked her point blank, why did you do this? She said, well, because the president is planning on releasing these terrorists, and we know there is a recidivism rate here. They go back into the battle. A lot of these people that are left, they're high risk. They're not being told, the American citizens are not being told what their background is, what crimes they've committed, how dangerous they actually are. We need to have full transparency, and that's not happening with this administration.
I can see how Republicans would be behind a move to slow things down, slow the closing of Gitmo. But my real question is, how many Democrats would get on board with that? I mean, how many?
Well, it was a partisan. It was 14 to 12 out of committee. I would believe and hope that there are some good moderate Democrats, good patriot Democrats who care deeply about the safety and security of our country. You want to make sure that we have a plan to close Gitmo. We have a plan to see what happens with them.
You counted votes in your time. Count these votes.
Well, it's a different situation now. The Republicans are in charge. There are some Democrats that are still up for re-election, and they can kind of spread their wings now because they're part of the process. They're actually filing amendments.
But you sound as if Senator Ayotte's bill might just win.
I certainly hope so. I hope everyone who's listening calls their senators, Democrat or Republican, and say, hey, listen, we need to bring it up. I understand Leader McConnell is going to do that in short order, and I hope it does move forward.
Scott Brown, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you, too.
Now, to another form of intel. A new report finding data seized from a computer in Afghanistan is fueling a surge in raids on al-Qaeda. James Rosen in Washington with more on that. James?
Stuart, good afternoon. Publicly, Pentagon officials would not comment on what they are categorizing as intelligence matters. Privately, however, on background, a senior U.S. military official has confirmed to Fox News, as first reported by the New York Times, that U.S. Special Ops Forces and Afghan commandos conducting joint counterterrorism missions in the mountainous terrain between Afghanistan and Pakistan last fall killed an al-Qaeda leader named Abu Bara al-Kuwaiti and seized a laptop computer with what the source calls significant intelligence about al-Qaeda plans and operations stored inside of it. However, our source disputed the Times account in one respect. While there has indeed been an uptick in nighttime raids in Afghanistan with U.S. personnel participating, such upticks, the source said, are cyclical and not the result of the intel gleaned from that laptop. Asked about the Times report, a Pentagon spokesman today declined to comment, citing the inviolability of intelligence information, but he did speak in general terms about the U.S. counterterrorism mission.
It is a fact that as we conduct operations, be they counterterrorism operations or otherwise, that we try to assess and evaluate whatever resources and information might come across battlefield operations. And that's just a fact. We do that. And sometimes when we do that, we gain insight and information that could lead to follow-on operations.
And Admiral Kirby also said an interagency group is weighing changes to the president's proposed timetable for the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, but no decisions, aside from the mysterious change of the backdrop behind me, have been made. Stuart.
James Rosen, thank you very much indeed, James. Those raids going down just as we're pulling out of Yemen. And we're not alone. Saudi Arabia reportedly just closing its embassy there as the situation continues to deteriorate. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer says this will only embolden al-Qaeda. Sir, as I understand it, we used to launch a lot of drones from Yemen. Can we still?
No, we can't. I mean, it's not a permissive environment. That's the key word, permissive. The prior government there, Stu, was very much for what we were doing. They saw it linked directly to their survival. Well, they didn't survive, and nor will our cause there. And this is one of those most dangerous times I can imagine. You have the Houthi, who are supported and funded by the Iranians, and you have at the same time the al-Qaeda on the Arabian Peninsula, who are natural enemies, but their common enemy is Saudi Arabia and us. So clearly, it's not a permissive environment any longer. We've really got to look at other options now.
Can we get any intelligence on the ground anywhere in the Middle East at the moment?
Well, you know, glad you asked it that way. The Afghanistan format, which I was directly involved in back in 03-04, is the right way to go. And it combines what Scott Brown was just saying with what Mike Flynn was just saying. We got to go in there and capture people along with their computers and interrogate them. And, you know, Guantanamo is a great place to do that over a long-term basis to learn everything they do. But we can't interrogate to that level. And frankly, we can't operate in Yemen. So it's really a bad news story at the rate we're going.
We're not going to do that, though, are we? We're not going to go in, capture people, bring them out, interrogate them. We're not going to do that.
No. And that's why Mike Flynn, I think, is making such a hard-pressed effort to make Congress understand that this is a necessary element for our success in the battlefield. And Stu, this is not about interrogation, torture. This is about simply getting individuals using the tried and true techniques that George Washington used on the battlefield. Trying to get information is critical to our success in the battlefield, saving American lives, helping us go after the counterterrorism mission, which is really our primary strategic point right now. And to your point, no, we can't do that. We can't get the intelligence, and therefore we cannot launch effective operations to counter al-Qaeda and ISIS.
But this is not Congress's job to run that kind of operation. This is the executive branch. This is the President of the United States. That's his job to do this.
Well, in his absence, who are you going to turn to? Not the judiciary. The other equal branch of government that can do something is Congress. They can legislate this. They're going to have to. The Congress under President Reagan was Democrat-controlled, and they would legislate and make him not do things that he wanted to do. Same thing here in reverse. There's things we must return to if we're going to be successful. What they're doing in Afghanistan is the right path. I talk about in my book, Operation Dark Heart. That's how we were winning in 03 there in Afghanistan. And if we want to get back on and winning, we got to do the hard work of human intelligence, interrogation, sweeping up these computers on the battle space, exploiting them. And what John Kirby said was actually correct today. We exploit this stuff, we move forward. If we don't, we will not see success on the battlefield. It's as simple as that.
Just give me an idea of the balance of power here. It seems to me that Iran is the rising power in that part of the world.
That's correct.
They run Hezbollah, parts of Syria, Lebanon, parts of Iraq, parts of Yemen now. They're becoming, can I say, the dominant power there?
They have no prevailing force against them, Stu, absolutely. So what you see here is a very deliberate plan to undermine the governance states, the governments of those states who support us. Now, keep in mind, at the same time, they're negotiating with us over their nuclear program. So this is what I would call the boiling pot, the boiling frog syndrome, where you put the frog in the pot, you turn the heat up little by little. That's what's going on here. They're doing this in slow motion, and there's no Arab response, there's no Sunni response to stop the Shia, which they are moving into these areas.
Tony Shaffer, thank you very much indeed, sir.
Right.
See you again soon.
Thank you, Stu.
All right. A strong week for stocks. The Dow now back above 18,000. It's the first time we've seen that since last December. For the week, the Dow finishing with a gain of just over 1%. And a new record for the S&P 500. It closed at 2,096.